Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome once again to this series. I remain Barrister Zuleha Yusuf, legal practitioner, marriage coach, divorce counselor, and NLP practitioner. I have been on a serialization of my book, Coping Mechanisms in a Difficult Marriage, and we have been taking the 20 coping mechanisms one by one. Before now, we've discussed having a marital intention or renewing your marital intention as a way to cope when you're in a difficult marriage, because everything starts from the beginning, which is your intention for getting married in the first place. And then we went ahead to discuss letting go of all pain, bitterness, and resentment that may have caused you to be at the stage you are now in your marital journey. The third one was taking responsibility, because at the end of the day, every human being is responsible for his own actions and inactions, for his outcomes and the way his life turns out. Again, we talked about finding your life purpose, because this is central to achieving any kind of fulfillment in life. That when you know the reason why you are here, why you have been created, what you want to achieve, the legacies you want to leave behind, even when you are no more there, when you know that life purpose, it will help you to achieve a successful marriage at the end of the day. So the fifth thing we're going to discuss, part of the coping mechanisms when you are faced with a difficult marriage, is acquiring knowledge. Because how do you become the person you want to be if you don't have knowledge of how to go about the entire process? How do you find your life purpose? How do you let go if you don't have the set of skills or the mental capacity to be able to do it? One of the ways you can have a 360-degree turnaround in your life is to acquire knowledge on the process that will take you to where you want to be, because life is a journey. And I keep saying it, I said happiness is not in a destination you get to when your marriage finally becomes okay, or when you finally have children, or when you finally become rich, or when you finally have a child, or whatever it is. It is in the process of life. So in that process, you are going to continue to learn, unlearn, and relearn. That's what acquiring knowledge is all about. And one of the first ways to acquire knowledge is to read more than you have ever read before. A lot of people have problem with actually sitting down to acquire new skill sets. They feel like I've gotten to an age where nothing is going to, I'm not going to assimilate anything again in my brain, or my brain is saturated with all of life's problems. I don't even have time. But the issue is that as we go along, we continue to acquire knowledge. It may be in your experiences, it may be in the kind of people you interact with, it may be in the new courses you take. A self-development journey is important. It may be religious wise. You may just decide to learn more about the Quran in a way to establish a bond with Allah that will now translate into barakah in every other aspect of your life. If you want Allah's blessings, you need to know Him, because Allah says also that you cannot even worship Him unless you know Him. So how do you know Him except by seeking for knowledge? So you may start your acquiring knowledge journey by first, getting more knowledge about your faith, by trying to deepen your faith through knowledge. So that is the place to start. Knowledge doesn't stop. We are all students of knowledge from cradle to grave. We know that in Islam you acquire knowledge from cradle to grave. So as life goes on, you are a teacher, you are a student of knowledge, and then you also teach. The best way to assimilate knowledge is to teach everything you learn. It is very important. In acquiring knowledge, you will realize that when you know better, you will do better. The sum total of all the knowledge you are acquiring and your experiences is that it translates into a better you. You need to be able to live the very best version of yourself, and you can only do that if you have the right kind of knowledge. So you need to make a decision to go today. I'm advising my brothers and sisters who discover that they are in marriages where they do not feel fulfilled, where you feel like you've come to the end of the road and there is just no way out. If you are even contemplating suicide or whatever it is that is really making you feel out of place right now, you need to make a decision to go on a journey of self-development, self-discovery. As you develop yourself, you are going to discover yourself. When you know yourself, you'll be able to make better decisions for yourself. So you may start by attending a personal development class. There are classes everywhere. Thankfully, you don't have to pay millions of naira to acquire knowledge these days. Like they say, Google is your friend or any other thing. So we should not waste our time too much on entertainment and fun, because that is the language of this century. People just want to be entertained, and it's because they are running away from something. Everybody just wants to be distracted. So you want to be distracted by extreme comedy or whatever it is. But the truth is that you can utilize that time to be learning new things. Of course, you can be watching films and documentaries or whatever it is and still be acquiring knowledge from them, to know more about the world, to go to places you have never gone before. As a self-professed Muslimah book addict, because I call myself a book addict, I'm addicted to anything that has to do with books, and that's why I read and I write a lot of books too. Is that when you read, it takes you to places that you have never been before. It helps you to have knowledge of things that ordinarily in your immediate environment you will not be able to know. So in self-development, you can read, you can learn, you can take courses, you can attend classes physical and online, you can do virtual sessions with people that your mentors or whatever, it's people that you want to learn from. So you must ask yourself some pertinent questions in order for you to trail the path, the right path in your journey. So you've probably heard the quote, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. When you have the right kind of knowledge, you'll be powerful in your own self. And anybody looking at you or hearing you knows that this person is somebody that knows what he's doing with his life, because there are a lot of people who are just going through life. They're just going through life in a way that it seems as if they cannot determine their course of action, as if life is happening to them. But you can actually happen to life when you have the right skill sets and knowledge. So, knowledge is power is a truer quote than you can even imagine. Few people understand how very important it is. You will not be able to be carried along by everything. If you do not stand for something, you would stand for everything, which is just not practicable. So acquiring knowledge is a must for every Muslim on the quest to finding everlasting happiness. If you want everlasting happiness, you must, as a matter of necessity, acquire knowledge. Over the years, over the years, you would learn and read a lot of things that will shape the way you behave, your attitudes. You know, for us, for us women in marriage, sometimes there are marital challenges and problems that just make you to become what you don't want to be. There are women that were gentle, they were calm, they were kind before marriage, but marital issues turned them to be vicious, um to become resentful people, to become spiteful people, vengeful and things like that. But when you start on your journey of self-development and self-discovery and self-knowledge, it will help you to go back to your true fitra and to be a better version of yourself. So seeking beneficial knowledge should preoccupy us more than any other thing. Than as much as your homemaking and beautification and every other thing you do, seeking knowledge is very important. And I like to use the example of Aisha radiallahu anhu because I like to draw my examples from our noble predecessors in faith, which are the prophets of Allah and the companions of the prophet. And I mentioned a case in point, which is Aisha radiallahu anhu. When we think of her, we think of a young girl that the prophet married later in life, who he loved very much, and from whom we draw all the marital lessons that we draw today. And one of the things I love so much about her is the fact that she was a knowledge junkie. She was a walking brain. She was an encyclopedia of knowledge. So much so that the prophet on his deathbed said to people that they needed to take knowledge from her. And we see so many hadith, we see so many aspects of Islam that were her direct narrations from what the Prophet ﷺ taught her. She wasn't known, and I'm not denigrating cooking skills or all the other skills that we have, but she wasn't known because she was the best chef in the world. She wasn't known because of her fashion skills. She was known simply because of the amount of knowledge that was packed in her brain. And I think that's something we should all aspire for. As much as we aspire to be extremely beautiful, we aspire to be glamorous, we aspire to be expert cooks and every other thing, we should also aspire to be known as people of knowledge. I think that the alims, the scholars, are the inheritors of this deen. That the people that have knowledge are those that should actually be forerunners in the world. So she was an ideal wife. She was a very good companion to the prophet. But the most striking aspect of her is that she was a bed of knowledge. And her superior brain power was what made her to be able to retain, because it's not enough that you are taking knowledge from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam directly from himself. He who got the revelation of the best book in the world, which is the Quran. But for her herself to also have the kind of brain, the capacity to be able to retain that knowledge is remarkable about her. And that's one of the things I love most about Aisha radiallahu anha. The fact that she had that super brain power. So don't be ashamed to be a woman who chases knowledge rather than material things. I say it, if I had money, I would rather buy books, and I've had friends and sisters tease me and say to me, you could have used money to buy a very beautiful veil or a shoe or that perfect handbag. And I'm saying even the book I bought that is so expensive is more important to me. So it depends on you, of course, on what you take as priority, as what you take as important. So the power of knowledge cannot be underestimated, and one of the ways is by reading and writing. I advise journaling for a number of reasons. The fact that when you learn, for you to be able to retain that knowledge, it is important that you also journal what you are learning along the way. There are some people that you hear words of wisdom from, and you just need to take it down. Writing it down and reflecting over it is going to transform you. So these are the positive transformation we wish, that we acquire knowledge that makes us better, that makes us think better, to act better, to know better. So you will learn a lot of things, you will unlearn a lot of things, and then you will relearn some things. I've had notions that I had to discard, because they were not serving me. Issues about the way the rights of women, the way Islam wants a woman to be, the position of women generally from the Islamic perspective, things like that. You continue to learn a lot of things. You continue to learn a lot of things, and you realize at the end of the day that the wisdom of Allah, it cannot be questioned. When you get a relationship with the Quran, and in all your quest for knowledge, in all your reading, you should make the Quran the central point that you always draw back. And I notice that this happens a lot. Sometimes I'm reading a very profound psychology book, and I just realize that these teachings, they are in the Quran. Only I didn't realize it until I started to reflect upon them. And there are so many things like that. So your learning is going to open many pathways for discovery for you. You're going to realize a lot of things, and you'll be like, Subhanallah, I never knew this, and I used to act this way, while this would have been a better way. So that is where acquiring knowledge changes our lives. And for you as a married woman, when you continue to learn, it helps. I belong to a particular polygamy group where I see women who become transformed. Their polygamy stories turned from negative to positive when they started to learn more about themselves and about their emotions and how to handle them and things like that. It was knowledge that assisted them in doing that. We see some people and we wonder, are they human beings? Are they aliens? Because they have emotional intelligence. They are not disturbed by the petty things that disturb the rest of us. They are able to carry themselves in ways that ordinary people cannot. You just see them and you be like, are they angels? Like, are they normal? It is just simply because of the superior knowledge they have. So knowledge is power. And I also like to add, because I run a lot of book clubs, I'm very interested in reading. So I say also that readers are leaders. When you read a lot, you'll be a leader in whatever field of endeavor you find yourself, because you will have new, more advanced knowledge than others in that particular field. And for you to get better, not just in your marriage, by the way, but also in your parenting, in your career, in your education, whatever it is, for you to get better and to get ahead of your peers in that field, you will need to read more. A lot of parents have had to take courses on parenting to learn every way you try to acquire knowledge is all for the betterment of your own self and the people around you. Because when you are better, when you are happier, when you are more fulfilled, it will trickle down and it will reflect in the way you treat your children, in the way you treat your spouse, and the society is all the better for it, because it will mean that there is harmony within you and your family, and it will extend to all the people around you. They would like to take you as a role model. So that's where acquiring knowledge helps you in your marital journey. It will make you happier. It will help you see your problems in a better light, because when you have read the biographies or the life experience of other people who have gone through much worse than you have gone through, it will help you to put your problems in a proper perspective, because you may be looking at your problem in a way that is actually not the way it is in reality. Sometimes we allow emotions to cloud our judgments, and you're already translating your spouse or whatever as in different ways. You are attributing different negative attributes to them, which in actual fact is not the truth. But by the time you learn and read more and begin to understand the reason why human beings act the way they act. For instance, I read a book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and it made me to realize that the personality differences of male and female are so profound that they can actually translate into the way people act up in marriage, and it can affect the marriage without the other person understanding. So when we put ourselves in our spouse's shoes, it will help us, and you will only be able to know this if, like I said, you read more, learn, unlearn, and relearn. So on that note, I'd encourage each and every one of us to aspire to go on a journey of self-discovery starting from now. Self-discovery and self-development, because your whatever it is in your life has to start from you. Whatever improvements you need to make has to start from you. And it is when you start to act better that your relationships will improve. So on that note, let me say, Fasubhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. I hope you benefited from this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.